I never thought saying yes to a simple favor would change everything about who I am. When Isabella, my girlfriend of 2 years, asked me to help her friend Emma with her wedding preparations, I thought it would be something simple. Maybe setting up decorations or carrying boxes. Not this. Not something that would make me question the person I see in the mirror. My name is Ethan Gray, 27 years old, a freelance graphic designer who spends more time behind a laptop than in front of people. My life is simple, predictable, and safe. Too safe. Isabella says I hide from the world, that I'm afraid to take risks. She's always been the outgoing one, confident, social, the kind of woman who can light up any room she enters. I was happy just being her quiet counterpart, the man behind the camera, the listener, the one who admired her courage but never shared it. Our apartment in the city is small but cozy, filled with Isabella's personality. Fashion magazines stacked on the coffee table, a half-finished painting on the wall, her perfume lingering in the air like a soft reminder that she belonged to a different world than mine. But things began to shift the day she got the call from Emma. Emma was her best friend from college, the kind of person who could talk Isabella into almost anything. She was getting married in just 2 weeks, but one of her bridesmaids had dropped out suddenly. Isabella offered to help her find a replacement, but Emma had laughed and said, "Why don't you just bring your boyfriend? He's cute enough to pull off a dress." They laughed about it at first. I did too, awkwardly. But a few days later, Isabella brought it up again. "Ethan," she said, sitting cross-legged on the couch, scrolling through dress photos on her phone. "I have a crazy idea." That tone, half playful, half dangerous, always meant trouble. "Please don't say what I think you're about to say," I groaned. She smiled. "Just hear me out. Emma is freaking out. The bridesmaid lineup looks uneven now, and she begged me to find someone who fits her color palette and size. You're about her height, and with a little help, I think you could actually pull it off." I blinked at her, unsure if she was serious. "You mean I'll pretend to be one of her bridesmaids? As in, wear a dress?" "Exactly," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "It's just for fun, one day only. You'd be doing a huge favor, and nobody will ever know it's you." I wanted to say no. I really did. But the way she looked at me, half teasing, half daring, made me hesitate. Isabella loved challenges, and I loved her. "Babe," I said, nervously rubbing the back of my neck, "I can't possibly look like a woman." People would laugh. She grinned. "That's where I come in." That was the moment everything began to change. Over the next few days, Isabella couldn't stop talking about it. Every time I walked past her, she'd be showing me photos of bridesmaid dresses or hairstyles. She even started referring to me jokingly as Evelyn, my supposed bridesmaid name. I laughed it off, but deep down, I felt something strange. A mix of fear and curiosity. Could I really do it? Could I become someone else, just for a day? The idea terrified me, but part of me was drawn to it. There was something thrilling about the thought of hiding behind a new identity, stepping out of my shy, quiet shell into something bold and beautiful, even if only for a moment. One night, Isabella caught me looking at a picture of the bridesmaid dresses longer than I should have. She tilted her head and smiled. "You're actually thinking about it, aren't you?" I tried to deny it, but she saw through me. She always did. "Okay," I sighed finally. "If I do this, if you have to promise me it stays between us." She grinned like a cat who'd just caught its prey. "Deal." That night, she pulled out her makeup kit like a magician opening a treasure chest. The sight of all those brushes, lipsticks, and powders made my heart race. I told myself it was just nerves, but maybe it was more than that. "Don't worry," Isabella said, patting my cheek playfully. "You'll make a beautiful bridesmaid. Maybe too beautiful." I laughed, but my hands trembled as she began explaining what she planned. She talked about contouring, wigs, shapewear, false lashes, the works. I nodded dumbly, feeling like I was signing up for a transformation I didn't understand. Still, there was no going back now. When I went to bed that night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying Isabella's words, "beautiful bridesmaid." For the first time in my life, I wondered what it would feel like to be seen that way. Not as Ethan, the quiet guy who stayed in the background, but as someone else. Someone confident, graceful, unafraid of attention. Someone like Isabella. And even though I didn't want to admit it, the thought made me smile. It started with a single knock on the bathroom door. "Ethan, are you ready?" Isabella called, from the other side. Her voice sounded calm, but I could hear the excitement hidden underneath. I stared at myself in the mirror for what felt like forever. My heart was racing. My palms were sweaty. The sink counter was covered in an explosion of makeup products, foundations, powders, mascara tubes, things I had never touched before. "Almost," I replied weakly. Isabella opened the door, stepping in with a smirk. She was wearing her own bridesmaid dress, a soft lavender satin gown that shimmered under the bathroom light. Her hair was curled perfectly, and her makeup looked flawless. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. Then she looked at me, at the plain, nervous man standing in a t-shirt and jeans, and grinned. "You're going to look incredible, babe. Trust me." I tried to laugh. "That's what I'm afraid of." "Sit," she ordered gently, patting the stool in front of the mirror. When I sat down, Isabella tied my hair back and started working. The brush against my face felt soft, but every stroke seemed to peel away a layer of my old self. The air was filled with the scent of foundation and perfume. My reflection slowly began to blur under layers of color and light. She hummed quietly as she worked, completely focused. "Close your eyes," she said, and I did. I felt the cool touch of eyeshadow, the gentle pressure of eyeliner, the strange tickle of mascara. When she finally let me open my eyes again, I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. My face looked softer. My skin seemed smoother. My cheekbones stood out in a way I'd never noticed before. My lips were fuller, glossier. I looked like someone caught between two worlds, not fully male, not fully female, but hauntingly beautiful. "Wow," I whispered. Isabella smiled proudly. "I told you. You're stunning, Ethan." She paused, then added teasingly, "Or should I say, Evelyn?" I blushed, but didn't protest. There was something about that name that made my stomach flutter. Next came the wig, a long, silky brunette one that matched Isabella's hair color. She adjusted it carefully, brushing it until it flowed over my shoulders. When she finished, she stepped back to admire her work. "Now the dress," she said, holding up a garment bag. The sound of the zipper filled the room, revealing the bridesmaid dress inside, a pastel pink gown with delicate lace straps and a fitted waist. It looked impossibly elegant. "I can't wear that," I muttered. "Yes, you can," she said firmly. "We've come this far. Trust me." She handed me the shapewear and undergarments first. I hesitated, feeling my face burn with embarrassment. But Isabella didn't tease. She just helped me figure it out, adjusting things gently, reassuring me when I fumbled. Finally, I stepped into the dress. The satin slid up my skin like a whisper, cool and smooth. Isabella zipped it up slowly, the sound echoing in the silence between us. When I looked at myself again, I froze. I didn't see Ethan anymore. The person in the mirror was Evelyn, a tall, graceful woman with soft eyes and an uncertain smile. My chest tightened. It didn't feel like a costume. It felt right. Isabella watched me carefully. "You're quiet," she said softly. I swallowed hard. I just didn't expect to look like this. Her smile faded a little. "Do you hate it?" "No," I said quickly. "I think that's what scares me." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached out and touched my cheek. "You look beautiful," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You really do." That was the first time she kissed me while I was still wearing the wig and makeup. It was soft, curious, and strangely intimate, like she was kissing a stranger and recognizing me all over again. When she pulled back, she grinned. "Okay, Evelyn. Time to practice walking." I laughed nervously. "You're kidding." But she wasn't. For the next hour, she made me walk around the apartment in heels, wobbly at first, then more confident. Every step made the skirt of the dress swish against my legs. Every sound of the heels clicking against the floor made my heart race. It was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't just that. It was freeing. Something inside me loosened with every step. The man who used to shy away from mirrors was gone. Evelyn looked straight ahead, chin up, daring the world to see her. Isabella noticed. "You're getting into this," she teased. I smiled, unable to hide it. Maybe a little. That night, after hours of practicing, I sat on the couch still half-dressed, wig off, makeup smudged, but the dress still hugging my body. Isabella leaned against me, scrolling through her phone. Then suddenly she said, "You know, Emma loved the idea. She thinks it's brilliant. She wants you to come to the bridal rehearsal next week." I froze.
What? No.
"No way, that's not." "She promised no one would know," Isabella interrupted quickly. "You'll just blend in with the rest of us. Everyone will assume you're one of her friends from another city." "Isabella," I started, but she gave me that look again, that daring, playful challenge that always broke my resistance. "Come on," she whispered. "You've already come this far. Don't you want to see what it's like out there?" I didn't answer right away. My reflection in the dark TV screen caught my eye, the faint outline of the pink dress glowing under the dim light. I thought about the way it felt, the way I felt, and I realized I did want to know. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Isabella helped me perfect everything, walking, speaking softly, even smiling differently. She taught me how to hold a clutch, how to sit gracefully, how to hide the nerves. We went shopping for accessories, earrings, a necklace, a small purse. Every time the store clerk looked at me with polite indifference, I wondered if she knew. Did she see through me? Or did I really look the part? Each secret glance made my heart thump faster. Every compliment from Isabella made me stand taller. The more I became Evelyn, the less I wanted to stop. But there was always that edge of fear. One wrong move, one curious stare, one slip of the voice, and the illusion would shatter. The night before the bridal rehearsal, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Isabella was asleep beside me, breathing softly. My mind raced. What if someone recognized me? What if Emma's fiancé noticed something strange? What if a single photograph from that day ended up online? I turned my head to look at Isabella. She smiled in her sleep. For her, it was a game, a thrilling secret between lovers. But for me, it was starting to feel like something else. Something deeper. I didn't know what scared me more, the thought of being caught or the thought that I didn't want this to end. The morning of Emma's rehearsal dawned far too soon. I woke up early, my stomach tight with nerves. The apartment smelled faintly of hairspray and perfume from the night before, a strange reminder that today wasn't an ordinary day. Isabella was already up, sipping coffee and scrolling through messages on her phone. "Morning, Evelyn," she said casually, not even looking up. I groaned. "Don't start that already." She smiled without lifting her eyes. "You'll thank me later. It helps you stay in character." Character. That's what she called it, as if Evelyn were a role I could step in and out of whenever I wanted. But lately, I wasn't sure where the act ended and I began. Isabella had laid everything out on the bed, the pastel bridesmaid gown, the wig freshly brushed, the delicate silver necklace that caught the morning light. My heels sat neatly by the nightstand, waiting like silent accomplices. "You're sure about this?" I asked, voice trembling. She walked over and touched my face gently. "You're going to be perfect. You've practiced for this. Just breathe." I nodded, though my pulse wouldn't slow. Getting ready took longer than I expected. Isabella helped with every step, the makeup, the dress, the wig, and by the time we were done, the mirror didn't reflect Ethan at all. Evelyn was flawless. The pink dress hugged my figure like it was made for me. My curls framed my face perfectly, the soft makeup highlighting features I didn't even know I had. My lips were a delicate rose shade that matched my nails. When Isabella stepped back to admire me, her smile was different this time. Not teasing, not playful. Almost proud. "You look beautiful," she whispered. I felt my throat tighten. "You don't think it's too much?" "Too much." She shook her head. "No. You look like you belong there." The car ride to the rehearsal felt endless. I sat quietly, clutching my small purse, trying not to fidget. Every car that passed felt like a threat. Every glance from a stranger made me shrink into my seat. "You're doing fine," Isabella murmured. "Relax." But when we arrived at the venue, a small countryside estate surrounded by flowers and sunlight, my legs almost gave out. There were so many people. Bridesmaids chatting near the fountain, family members laughing, photographers snapping pictures. And Emma, radiant in white, spotted us from across the garden. "Isabella, you made it," she called out, waving excitedly. I froze. Emma rushed over, heels clicking on the cobblestone path, and threw her arms around Isabella. Then she turned to me. "And you must be," she hesitated, tilting her head, eyes scanning my face. My breath hitched. "This is Evelyn," Isabella said smoothly. "She's one of my close friends from the city." Emma smiled warmly. "Oh, right. You mentioned her. Evelyn, it's so nice to meet you." I forced a smile, praying my voice wouldn't betray me. "And nice to meet you too." Her handshake lingered for a moment longer than I expected. Did she notice something? My heart pounded, but she simply turned back to Isabella, chatting about the ceremony plans. For the next few hours, I stayed close to Isabella's side, nodding, smiling, and speaking only when necessary. At first, I was terrified. Every interaction felt like walking a tightrope. One wrong move, and the mask would fall. But as time passed, something unexpected happened. People didn't stare. They didn't whisper. They treated me like one of them. I helped tie ribbons around bouquets. I laughed at jokes. I even danced briefly when the playlist changed to something upbeat. And for the first time, I wasn't pretending. Evelyn wasn't a disguise. She was me, unfiltered, fearless, alive. But reality has a way of testing even the most fragile dreams. During the break, I slipped into the restroom to freshen up. The moment I locked the stall, I let out a long, shaky breath. My hands were trembling. I pulled out my phone and saw a message from Isabella. "You're doing amazing, babe. No one suspects a thing." I smiled, then froze when I heard voices outside the door. Two women had entered, chatting casually. "I swear, there's something about that new bridesmaid," one said. "The tall one in pink." My stomach dropped. "Oh yeah, Evelyn? She's gorgeous," the other replied. "But she's so quiet. Doesn't she seem different?" "Yeah," the first whispered. Her voice sounded weird when she thanked Emma, like she had a cold or something. My heart pounded so hard I thought they might hear it through the door. After a tense moment, they laughed it off and left, but the damage was done. My confidence cracked. My breathing quickened. I splashed cold water on my face, but my reflection looked back at me with wide, panicked eyes. Was it over? Would they tell Emma? Would everyone know before the day even ended? When I finally stepped out, Isabella was waiting near the corridor. She saw my expression and frowned. "What happened?" I told her in a hushed voice. Her eyes softened. "Ethan, listen to me. No one's going to find out. You're okay. You've been perfect all day." I wanted to believe her. But as we returned to the group, I noticed something different. People's glances lingered a little longer. Emma whispered something to her fiancé while looking at me. And then, the worst thing that could have happened. A photographer called out, "Okay, bridesmaids group photo." I froze in place. Isabella nudged me. "It's fine. Just smile." The five of us lined up beside Emma. I could feel her standing just inches from me, radiant and confident. The camera flashed once.
Twice.
Then Emma leaned slightly toward me and whispered, "You're really quiet, Evelyn. Are you nervous?" I nodded awkwardly. "A little." Her eyes flicked toward my throat, then back to my face. Her smile stayed, but something in her gaze changed. The photographer called for another shot. "All right, everyone. Arms around each other." I hesitated, but Emma slipped her arm around my waist before I could move. The contact made me tense up. She could feel it. She looked at me again, searching my face with curious intensity. And then she smiled wider. "You know, you look so much like someone I used to know." My heart nearly stopped. The rest of the afternoon was a blur. I could barely focus. Every time Emma's eyes met mine, I felt exposed, like she saw right through me. By the time the rehearsal dinner started, I was trembling inside. I told Isabella the first needed some air, and slipped outside. The evening breeze felt cool against my skin. I sat on a stone bench near the garden fountain, staring at my reflection in the rippling water. Evelyn looked back, graceful, beautiful, but terrified. Why am I doing this? I whispered to myself. And then, out of nowhere, a voice answered, calm, curious, and far too close. Doing what? I turned, and my blood ran cold. Emma stood behind me, holding 2 glasses of champagne. She handed me one and sat down beside me. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Just watched the water. You've been quiet all day, she said finally. You okay? I forced a shaky smile.
Yeah.
Just tired. She studied me. You know, you remind me a lot of Isabella's boyfriend. The glass almost slipped from my hand. I turned to her slowly, heart thundering. Really? That's funny. Yeah, she said, eyes narrowing slightly. Same height, same build, same energy. Silence. Then she leaned closer, voice low. Don't worry, I won't say anything. I froze. She took a sip of champagne and smiled faintly. Whatever your reason is, you look happy. So maybe that's all that matters. And with that, she stood up and walked away, leaving me breathless and trembling. Was she serious? Did she really know? Or was it a test? When I rejoined Isabella, she immediately noticed my expression. What happened? I couldn't answer. I just smiled faintly and whispered, nothing. Let's just go home. But inside, my mind was a storm. Because for the first time, I realized I wasn't scared anymore of being caught. I was scared of having to go back. The morning light poured through the hotel window like liquid gold. I blinked awake, momentarily forgetting where I was, until the soft rustle of satin and the faint scent of rose perfume reminded me. My bridesmaid dress, a long blush gown with lace sleeves, hung elegantly near the dresser. For a few seconds, I just stared at it, my heart racing with a strange blend of panic and wonder. It was the day of Isabella's wedding, the day I would have to step out in front of everyone as her perfect bridesmaid. Delilah, the makeup artist Isabella had hired, arrived early with her team. They treated me just like one of the girls, chatting and laughing as they laid out brushes, curling irons, and palettes of shimmering colors. My nerves screamed, but I stayed silent. When Delilah said, "Let's get our gorgeous bridesmaid ready," my chest tightened. Our gorgeous bridesmaid. She meant me. The transformation process felt both surreal and intimate. My hair was curled into soft waves that framed my face perfectly, and my lips were painted a tender rose shade. The foundation blended away every trace of my masculine jawline, replaced by a smooth glow. Each touch of the brush deepened my disbelief. How could I look so convincingly feminine? When they zipped up the dress, I felt its weight settle over me like a promise I hadn't agreed to make. The fabric hugged my waist, the skirt floated around my legs, and the mirror reflected someone I barely recognized. My heart thudded. I wasn't looking at me anymore. I was looking at her. Isabella entered moments later, already dressed in her gown. She stopped in her tracks when she saw me. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You're beautiful." The words hit me like a tidal wave. I wanted to laugh it off, but my voice caught. "You really think so?" I asked softly. She smiled, a slow, knowing smile that made me blush. "I knew you could pull it off. I didn't think you'd look better than half my bridesmaids." I tried to smile back, but inside I was spiraling. The way she looked at me, proud, satisfied, made me feel like I'd crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The hours leading up to the ceremony passed in a blur. The photographer asked for group shots, and I found myself posing beside Isabella, clutching my bouquet like every other woman there. Each click of the camera etched another moment of my transformation into memory. Then came the ceremony itself. The church was filled with music and whispers. Guests turned as we walked down the aisle, me included, in heels, heart pounding. The attention burned like sunlight. Every step felt deliberate, graceful, terrifying. I was supposed to be invisible, a supporting role, yet eyes followed me. Some smiled. Some stared. At the altar, Isabella met her soon-to-be husband, Thomas. He looked radiant, but his gaze flicked to me once, just once, and I saw confusion flash across his face before he masked it with a smile. I felt my stomach twist. The vows began. Isabella's voice trembled as she spoke, and I could see tears in her eyes. I should have been happy for her, but all I felt was the weight of what I had become. When the ceremony ended, the crowd erupted in applause. As we exited the church, Isabella threw her bouquet, and it landed in my hands. Everyone cheered and laughed, but my breath caught. "Looks like you're next," someone teased. I smiled weakly, but something inside me cracked open. Maybe it was embarrassment, maybe confusion, but beneath it, there was something else. Something that felt dangerously like joy. The reception that night was even more surreal. Music, lights, laughter, and me, still in that gown, dancing among the bridesmaids. Isabella kept glancing at me with that same proud expression, as if she'd created something extraordinary. At one point, she pulled me aside, her perfume wrapping around me like a spell. "Thank you for doing this," she said. "You made today perfect." I wanted to say it was fine, that I'd never do something like this again, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I whispered, "I'm glad I could help." When she hugged me, I felt her warmth, her happiness, and beneath it, a quiet ache in my chest I couldn't explain. That night, as I stood alone in front of the mirror, the makeup still flawless, I touched my reflection. The girl staring back wasn't a disguise anymore. She looked natural. And for the first time, I didn't want to take her off. The day after the wedding was quiet, almost eerily so. The apartment felt emptier, without the bustle of bridesmaids, flower arrangements, and camera flashes. But inside me, everything was louder than ever. I sat on the edge of the bed, brushing my fingers over the soft fabric of the dress I hadn't taken off yet. Isabella was still asleep beside me, her hair spilling across the pillow like a river of gold. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, and I almost didn't recognize the face staring back. Evelyn. For hours, I sat there thinking. The thrill of the rehearsal, the attention, the way strangers smiled at me as if I were one of them, it hadn't frightened me the way I thought it would. Instead, it had awakened something I couldn't quite name. Was this who I was meant to be? Not Ethan, the quiet, reserved man hiding behind screens and shadows. But Evelyn, graceful, confident, someone who could move through the world unafraid. I reached for my phone and scrolled through the pictures from the wedding. Each image captured moments I'd never imagined I could experience. Laughing with bridesmaids, holding Isabella's bouquet, smiling at strangers who accepted me without question. A knot of emotion twisted in my chest. Shame, excitement, exhilaration, fear, all mingled together. And yet, underneath it all, there was joy. Pure, undeniable joy. Isabella woke mid-morning, stretching and yawning. "Morning," she murmured, rubbing her eyes. "Morning," I replied softly. She noticed immediately. "You stayed in the dress?" I nodded, feeling my cheeks warm. She smiled knowingly. "You're enjoying it, aren't you?" I couldn't deny it. I think I am." Her eyes softened. "It's okay. You don't have to fight it. You've been hiding a part of yourself for too long. Today, you let it out." Her words hit harder than any makeup brush or gown ever could. I realized she wasn't just talking about a dress.
She was talking about me.
About me feeling alive. We spent the day together quietly. She didn't push me to change back.
She didn't tease.
She simply let me exist as Evelyn, brushing my hair, helping me slip on softer clothes that still made me feel feminine, sipping coffee in the sunlit living room. Every glance in the mirror reminded me that I could be this person, fully, unapologetically. Later that evening, I received messages from the other bridesmaids. Compliments on the dress, laughter over photos, even gentle teasing. And for the first time, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Inclusion. Acceptance. When Isabella came home after her errands, she found me sitting on the couch, legs crossed, dress flowing softly around me. "You look comfortable," she said, smiling. I shrugged. "I feel different, but good different." "Different in a good way," she clarified. I nodded. "Yeah, I think I like Evelyn more than I thought I would." She reached out and took my hand. "Then don't hide her. Not from me. Not from yourself." Her words were simple, but they carried a weight I couldn't ignore. I had spent so long pretending, so long being afraid, that I forgot what it felt like to exist as my truest self. That night, alone in my room, I stood before the mirror once again. My dress was simpler now, a soft, flowing gown Isabella had picked out for me to lounge in, but Evelyn was still there. Her presence felt comforting, almost protective. I traced the curve of my jaw, the arch of my brows, the softness of my lips, the thrill, the fear, the exhilaration of yesterday's wedding. All of it lingered. And yet it was different now. It wasn't about hiding. It was about discovering. A small smile crept across my face. Maybe this was what it meant to feel alive. Maybe Evelyn wasn't a temporary escape or a secret anymore. Maybe she was me. The days that followed were a strange blend of normalcy and transformation. Work continued, friends called, life moved forward, but Evelyn wasn't going anywhere. I started wearing softer clothing around the apartment, trying on heels in private, experimenting with makeup when Isabella wasn't watching. Each step was liberating. Each glance in the mirror reinforced the truth I was slowly embracing. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a dare. Evelyn was real, and she mattered. When Isabella noticed, she didn't judge. She didn't ask me to stop. She simply smiled, proud and loving, and whispered, "You're beautiful, you know that?" And for the first time, I believed her. The fear that had haunted me, the fear of judgment, of being exposed, of losing control, slowly faded into something else. Anticipation. I didn't know what the future held. Friends, family, the world outside, none of them knew yet. But inside me, something had shifted irrevocably. Evelyn was no longer a mask.
She was a part of me.
And I couldn't stop smiling. The evening was quiet, the apartment bathed in the golden glow of sunset. I sat on the couch, Evelyn fully present now. Heels kicked off, wig slightly tousled, dress flowing softly around my legs. Isabella was in the kitchen, humming, putting away dishes from the wedding celebration leftovers. For a moment, it felt like peace. I picked up my phone, scrolling through photos and messages from the wedding. Compliments, laughter, emojis, all confirming something I had feared, then hoped for. People had accepted me. For who I was in that pink dress. A soft knock at the door startled me. My heart jumped. It was late. No one should be here. Isabella called out from the kitchen. "Coming." I froze. A cold wave of panic swept over me. Every instinct screamed, this could be someone discovering you, someone exposing Evelyn. Isabella opened the door, smiling brightly. But the smile faltered for just a second. Standing there was a figure I did not expect, Emma. Her eyes scanned the apartment, lingering on me for a beat too long. "Hi," she said cautiously. "I hope I'm not intruding." I forced a smile, palms sweating. "And no, not at all. Come in." She stepped inside, glancing around as though she was trying to read the atmosphere. When her gaze landed on me, fully in Evelyn now, I felt my stomach drop. She froze. You look different," she said, her tone curious, unsteady. Isabella stepped between us, cheerful but protective. "Emma, this is Evelyn, one of my friends from the city. We were just relaxing." Emma's eyes flicked from Isabella to me, then back again. I could feel her mind working, connecting dots I didn't even know existed. "You're sure this is okay?" she asked, her voice soft. "Of course," Isabella replied quickly, but I noticed the slight tension in her jaw. Emma nodded slowly, but her eyes betrayed her thoughts. There was curiosity, suspicion, and something else, a flicker of recognition. I could feel Evelyn trembling inside me, but this time not with fear, with anticipation. This was it. Someone had noticed. Someone had the chance to unravel the secret I had worked so hard to protect. Emma moved closer, tilting her head, examining me as if seeing a puzzle she wanted to solve. "Evelyn," she said slowly, "you remind me of someone." My heart pounded. Was it Isabella's playful test again? Or had she finally figured it out? Before I could answer, she smiled faintly, almost knowingly. "Don't worry. I won't tell anyone, not yet." A pause. Her hand brushed against my arm lightly, almost a challenge, almost a tease, and she stepped back. "I just think it's amazing." "Really?" she whispered, voice low. I exhaled shakily, relief and terror mingling in equal measure. Isabella, sensing the tension, led Emma to the kitchen. I remained in the living room, staring at my reflection in the darkened window. Evelyn's face stared back at me, smiling, confident, radiant. And yet, the fear lingered, because I knew, the moment Emma had seen me like this, my secret had grown fragile. Any wrong move, any slip of the tongue, and it could all be exposed. I touched my lips, still glossed from the wedding day, tracing the curve of a smile I hadn't imagined I'd wear. I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to go back. But the question remained, would the world, friends, family, even Emma, ever accept Evelyn as I had begun to accept her? A faint creak from the hallway made me jump. Emma's voice floated softly, laughing in the kitchen. Isabella was behind her. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the next step, the next word, the next glance could change everything. And just like that, Evelyn's world hung in a delicate balance. Would my secret remain safe? Or had it already begun to unravel? The answer hovered in the air, unsaid, unresolved. The camera could cut here, leaving the audience frozen on that moment, a mixture of suspense, curiosity, and tension that begs them to wonder, what will happen next? The door creaked under the force of another knock. I could hear my own shallow breaths, the quiet swish of my dress, and the faint hum of the house settling around me. Vanessa's shadow appeared through the frosted glass, and I felt a wave of dread mixed with adrenaline. One wrong move, one slip of expression, and everything I had worked for, my secret, my temporary power, my thrill, could vanish in an instant. I whispered under my breath, almost to myself, "This isn't over, not by a long shot." The bracelet on my wrist shimmered in the dim light, the heels beneath me seemed heavier, and my reflection, the duality of Alex and Lily, seemed to watch, waiting for the next move. And then, just as I reached for the doorknob, the screen cuts to black. The audience is left with a million questions. Will Vanessa discover the secret? What will Lily do next, now that she's in Alex's body? Can Alex survive another day in her twin's life without being exposed? Viewers are encouraged to speculate. What would they do if they were trapped in someone else's life? Would they take risks or play it safe? The suspense is unresolved, ensuring engagement and discussion in the comments.